Welcome to the American Business Podcast. I am Kevin Deveji, your host. I'd like to welcome you to today's episode. Thank you very much for being with us. Well, first of all, thank you very much for your support. On YouTube, we reached 10,000 subscribers. So we are very excited, and I'm confident that many more to come. So thank you for your support. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like it, share your thoughts, put your comments on it, and let's put the word out and let's grow these business community together. So this is very motivational for us, and we get new subscribers every week, and this is amazing. So thank you very much, and we'll keep it going. Every Friday we have a new content coming up. This is educational, informative about American business practices as well as international business practices. So we'll keep it bringing it to you. Also, if you have any podcast ideas, if you like to be a guest in our any of our podcast episodes, please feel free to send us an email, americanbusinesspodcast@gmail.com. This may be you yourself or another business professional that you like to be part of the podcast. We have an open mind. We definitely like to hear from you, your questions, your ideas, your guest request. We definitely welcome it. Also, if you like to sponsor our channel, you can use the same email address. So we have new sponsors, which we truly appreciate, that are supporting the American Business Podcast. So we are open for American businesses, international businesses, organizations, institutions, educational institutions, as well as nonprofits to be our sponsor. We'll be happy to promote your business products and services. And one final note before we invite our guest, today's guest, you can visit our website, americanpodcast.tv, for coming podcast schedule and coming episodes, because we have a pre-book calendar which we are happy about, and you can see what is coming in coming weeks, what is scheduled, who's going to be with us, what we're going to talk about American business practices on our website, americanpodcast.tv. All right, great. So let's get started. Today, we're going to be talking about safety in the work environment. And for that, we have a special guest. Let's invite our guest today to our podcast. We have Kristen Panella with us from Too Safe Consulting, and we are excited to have him today as our special guest. Kristen, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kevin. I appreciate it. And congratulations on 10,000 subscribers. It's a pretty big deal.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, we are definitely fired up. That really keeps us going. Every week we have new educational content, so we'll keep it rolling. We'll keep it coming. So thank you very much for your good wishes.
I'd like to be part of it. I'm someone that's very pro safety, and I love talking about it. So thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, definitely. That's a great opportunity for all of us. So we are excited to learn your insights. As a start, would you please introduce yourself and your company to our audience and to our listeners?
Well, again, thank you very much, Kevin. My name is Kristen Panella. I am the principal of Too Safe Consulting. We are an outsourced safety program. So typically small businesses will completely outsource their environmental health and safety program to us because they don't have the need for a full-time employee to operate that, and we will do everything from soup to nuts. We've also integrated ourselves in not only, let's say, safety training or employee advice, we also get heavily involved with insurance, contracts, bid documents, and then also there are some needs for software programs as well. Every industry has something different, but we integrate ourselves into that as well. Keeps us pretty.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, sounds like you have an integrated operations over there. So that's really good.
Yeah. So me personally, I have about 25 years of experience in environmental health and safety, dating way back, and I don't want to give a date, but dating way back into the environmental industry, doing major cleanup sites, and then working our way up to Superfund sites, which are large, federally regulated cleanup sites where safety was very important, right? So we had to worry about chemicals of concern that some were nastier than others, and we had to make sure that not only the environment was safe, but also personnel was safe as well. So little by little, we got heavily involved with industrial hygiene, soil sampling, air sampling, uh, respirators, and so on and so forth, and very heavily shifted from environmental to safety. And now we're able to run the gamut of safety programs, whether it's a pharmaceutical company with that has their chemicals plus their cleaning chemicals. We're in the aerospace industry for various coating operations. We are also in the construction industry, whether that's New York City construction or local construction. And then we're also in manufacturing, heavy manufacturing.
That's great. Can you also tell us how did you start your career?
Yeah. So again, it started way back in the environmental industry. And what I found was I was the employee in the Tyvek suit with the respirator on, with the big hood, sweating like crazy. And I'm like, this is crazy. I have an undergraduate degree in geology. I have a master's in environmental technology, heavily educated. And here I am, in the worst of the worst of the worst. And what I learned very quickly is that you need to be a supervisor. You need to work your way up so you can literally get out of the trenches and work your way out. So little by little, we started doing some consulting, whether it was training, and just get away from that. And then that's about 2009 is when I started Too Safe Consulting. And at first it was very local. We did local businesses. We did training for local businesses. We ran safety program for local businesses. We solved problems for local businesses. But there was a need where we potentially would have a local business that was also national or international, and we had to assist them in other locations as well. So as of right now, we are not only are we in New York, but we're heavily integrated in New Jersey, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Iowa, California. And we also have to represent some international clients as well. And this is one of these unique situations where we'll have European companies that are trying to start companies in the United States or are already established in the United States. And they want to make sure that their employees are safe, that they're following all the local rules and regulations. And that's where they can kind of reach out to us and make sure that we are running their safety program in compliance with federal, state, and local rules.
I'm really curious about your actual profession. I'm going to ask more questions about your safety practices as well as your consultancy practices. Before that, one of the questions that actually that's in my mind is, can you tell us about your work a little bit more? What are the exciting as well as challenging parts of your profession?
Yeah, so the exciting part is problem solving. So I love it when we show up to a site and someone is like, well, we can't do it, right? Well, yeah, that's great that OSHA regulation says this. We can't do it. That's my favorite part, right? It's like, well, it doesn't mean that then we're not safe. It's that we have to find a solution, right? And that's where creativity, industry standard kinds of comes into play, and that we're able to go out. So yeah, listen, federal regulations is very boring, right? But the second that I get a chance to be creative and come up with good ideas and be innovative, that's the part that I really love about this job, finding those solutions. And what's really nice is I have the luxury of working in multiple industries. So I'm not an expert in, let's say, construction industry safety. I'm kind of over many industries. So I'm able to take that information from maybe one industry and integrate it into another industry. And that's where a lot of clients see value. This was very important during COVID. We literally had no idea what we were doing during COVID and what was right, what was wrong. The regulations changed every day. But what was great is that maybe there was someone that was really smart, really creative in one industry and implemented it at their company so they can maintain, again, with manufacturing, they had to continue working. So they had a great idea and we were able to take that great idea and integrate it here and integrate it there. And then this one had a good idea and we were able to integrate it over here. So being in those multitude of different industries really kind of helps us add more value to our clients because we can come up with those solutions to those challenges that they have. So that's one of the main things that I love.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Um, okay, well, so you just mentioned that you work with different businesses, construction, manufacturing, and so on. So, based on your professional experience and observation, what are the typical safety issues that you see at manufacturing sites as well as in general business?
Yeah. So nothing's standard. Absolutely nothing standard. Every industry has their own nuances. Every company kind of has their own nuances, their own challenges. Um, so it is kind of all over the map. I do want to say one thing that does stand out is, again, I've been in the industry for a very long time. In the beginning, it was always the business owner. They were always the problem. They didn't want to spend the money. They didn't want to buy the equipment. They didn't want to, have the training. And we always had a fight with the owner. And it was like, the owner, you got to do this, you got to do that, and make sure you do this. And if they didn't, then it was like always a fight with them. What we're finding now is that owners are doing that. They are doing the training. They are providing the PPE. They are providing all the tools necessary to keep the employees safe. The biggest challenge that we're having now in the safety field is the employee. The person that we're trying to keep safe is the one that we're battling, the one we're having an argument with. We're saying you have to wear your fall protection when you're over 6 feet. And they're like, oh, come on. And it's like, it's for you, right? So that's our challenge, is like, so it's away from the owner now. Now it's arguing with the employee who we're actually trying to keep safe. And a big part of that is not having an argument, right? So we want to make sure that we get them to understand, like, why is that important? Not just like, hey, the OSHA regulation says it. It's because we want you to go home at the end of the day. So lately, it's really kind of shifted from where it was the owner, and now it's the employee that is our challenge in the safety field, and making sure that they understand why they have to follow the rules that the government has come up with, or their company has come up with.
Sounds like change management to me.
Yeah. So,
There are
but that's
similarities.
like, again,
Yeah.
like, there's not, like, I can't just say forklifts are like the problem
Mhm.
in all industries. Like I said, everything's kind of different, but that is where every industry, like if you're in construction industry, really it's the employees we have to go after. When you're in the pharmaceutical industry, it's the employees you have to go after, because there is a buy-in. Now, I will say, it's not that the owners had this coming of Jesus, and they're like, oh, I want to keep everyone safe. It's the insurance industry, right? The insurance industry is really driving the whole safety program at everywhere. So it's demanded by the insurance company. Therefore, the company must comply with it. And then it ultimately has to trickle down to the employee. But that's the frustrating part, is sometimes is like, and understand there's a financial aspect to all of this, but let's not talk about that right now, is that the insurance company cares about the employee safety. The owner cares about the employee safety. I care about the employee safety, but then it's like the employee doesn't care about their safety. So we're trying to really create this environment where they take some responsibility, that it's not like, oh, it's my owner, it's his responsibility or her responsibility to keep me safe. No, it's your responsibility. We're just giving you the tools.
You just mentioned about OSHA. So we know it's very important, and there are different OSHA regulations to keep the employees safe and the work environment safe. Can you please share some of your experience, maybe some use cases in terms of OSHA compliance practices? Could be from manufacturing or other industries. We don't have to have the company name, but maybe just different industries, different examples, perhaps. I'm sure it's gonna be very informative for our audience.
Yeah, my firm and myself specifically, we we get involved with companies in two ways. One way is reactive, right? They got in trouble, someone got hurt, OSHA showed up on site, and then they got a violation. Then they call me up, hey, Chris, can you help me out? So that's one way we get involved with our clients. Another way is where they're proactive, right? They are able to identify that this is a gap, something they should be doing. It's the law, that they should be doing, and then they call us in. And that's a luxury I always like. We don't always get that. So we have this other 50% of where we're dealing with a problem, and typically it's an OSHA violation, and then you got 30 days to correct. And then there's money involved as well. So we will work directly with the local OSHA area director. So in New Jersey, they have them. New York, they have them. Every state is different. So we will act as the company's liaison and deal with them directly. Now, we are not attorneys. So what we're trying to do is work with the local OSHA inspector prior to getting to any type of court system or attorneys, right? So we're trying to avoid that. And there's negotiation that's involved. We got to hurry up, get in there, fix whatever needs to get done, and then we go back to OSHA and say, look, this is all this great things they did. We also try to shine like a bright light on the things that they are doing right and try to, reflect that back to OSHA. But we will speak directly, whether it's the inspector that's on site. We try to be there right away so we can interact with them right away, or it will be the area director that we deal with. But I do have to say that the ones that I have dealt with, they are competent, they are reasonable. Now, I'm not saying all of them. I've dealt with some unreasonable inspectors, but for the most part, they are reasonable, and we can go through it and talk through the whole process and procedure. Now, they're not pushovers either. So like if you don't have a program, you're supposed to have a program, and someone got hurt because you don't have a program, well, you should expect some sort of substantial fine because of that. Because again, whether you like OSHA rules and regulations or not, it doesn't matter. It's the law. You have to follow them. And in my opinion, OSHA rules and regulations are the bare minimum, right? Like you're over 6 feet, you should have fall protection. But there are other instances that you should also have fall protection. And that's where you want to be creative and innovative and making sure that you're keeping your employees safe, no matter what OSHA says. And we try to follow OSHA as much as possible, but we also try to say, hey, let's have some common sense here and implement really good programs. Now, on the flip side, also with the EPA locally in New Jersey, it might be the DEP or the DEC in New York, we have to deal with environmental regulators as well. And they come in all different shapes and sizes. It really depends what it is. If it's tanks, you're going to be dealing with a different entity. If it's chemicals, you're going to be dealing with a different entity. So there's many different entities. And then all of a sudden you get into New York City, and that's a whole nother world. And we kind of, again, just kind of help the client. We navigate through them, hold their hand through the whole process, get them through the process and out of the process is our ultimate goal.
We had some discussion, you and I, when we were preparing for the podcast. So as we discussed earlier, we have some also international audience. We have heavy audience in addition to most of our audience are from North America, followed by Europe, Asia, North America, and some other regions. So having said that, just also, connect the dots between two parts of the Atlantic a little bit. You mentioned that you also work with international clients, maybe those from Europe. So can you share some of your insights about working with international companies coming into US to do business or to do investment and run operations? How they are adjusting. What do you see in terms of their experience and adaptation to US regulations in terms of safety?
Yeah, so thank you, Kevin. This is one of those other things that is really kind of interesting. We'll have European companies that want to do business in the US. We currently have a company based out of Italy that is doing work in Canada and doing work in throughout the entire United States, many different Texas, Puerto Rico, New Jersey, they're all over the United States. And we're able to service them and make sure that we are keeping them in compliance with all the local rules and regulations. And it's one thing to say the United States, which is, let's say, OSHA and EPA, but also state to state has its own regulations. And you get all the way down to the townships and the counties, and we make sure that they're in compliance with those as well. Fire safety is a big part of, the local regulations, and we're able to assist them there. But the Italian-owned company that works throughout the United States, we're able to work with them, and also Canada. What we try to do is not only implement the local safety rules and regulations, but also whatever country they come from. So because you can't have something be okay in Italy and not be okay in the United States, or vice versa, right? So somebody that's very strict and you have to wear a hard hat in this particular instance when you're in Italy, and then not have to do it when you're in Puerto Rico. We don't like that. So we try to integrate it as much as possible. Yes, we're going to make sure you're compliant with wherever you are. But again, that's that bare minimum. And then we're going to integrate whatever the home country is and make sure that their safety program is up to the policies and procedures of whatever that company is. We have another company that's based out of the UK, and they're a biotech company, startup. based out of Boston, and we represent them there as well. So we're able to go up there, make sure that they're completely compliant, but also integrate the current plans that they have in the UK. So we have a lot of conversations because we need to understand what they need to meet, and then we make sure that we meet whatever their goal is. We want to make sure that we meet their goal. One thing that Europe uses a lot that we don't use a lot here in the United States, manufacturing does sometimes, but it all has to go back to Europe, has to deal with Europe, is ISO standards. So Europe uses a ton of ISO standards because they do international trade on a regular basis. United States, not so much. So all of a sudden you have someone that says ISO here in the United States, and we're in like full freak out mode because it's like, oh, we got to do this, we got to do this. So we're able to also talk about the OSHA, the ISO standards with those international companies as well, if that's something they want to do. But what's nice is it's almost, ISO is almost like a different language. It really is. We're able to speak that language with them and say, hey, yes, you want to implement it here, or we might say, hey, listen, this is the cost of implementing it here, and that cost is not cheap. And then we're able to walk them through it and whether there's value there or not, and then they're able to make a decision.
So and most of our audience knows. So I am in enterprise business software industry. So one of our expertise is actually compliance, just like you mentioned. And we do have clients, just like you mentioned, international clients. So some operations in Europe, some of them Asia, in addition to North America. And we help them a lot for compliance purposes in terms of compliant ISO digitally, for example, and other requirements. So definitely we have also similar experiences, seeing like different industries, they have different way of compliance and doing business, and you try to help them adapt to each other in a way. It's quite an experience. So that's very interesting that you also mentioned it in your own safety practices. So
we've had some really interesting conversations because of the recent tariffs that have been implemented, and it's, do European companies want to start to manufacture in the United States to avoid those tariffs? And what are the, what's involved in doing that? And one of the things that always comes up is the ISO standards. And it's like, okay, well, you're going to have American workers that have to implement all of those ISO standards. And I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's a level of complexity that has to be added to that ultimate decision.
Yes, definitely. So yeah, it comes with the documentation, compliance requirements in terms of corrective actions, non-conformity management, and everything needs to be documented. So the first time when they started, typically they get by with the documentation and documents and so on. But then you make the revisions, you do the corrective actions, and these improvements basically changes the documentation, because documentation actually has the instructions on it. It actually spells out how the operations will run. So then, revision after revision, then after a couple of years, you have a ton of revisions. Then when it comes for audit for ISO, for example, then it becomes challenging. Then that's when they need the, software. Interestingly, actually, in one of our first episodes, we also covered ISO 9001. So that was also very educational in terms of diving a little deeper about ISO, and some of our audience, they can just see our previous episodes to learn more about ISO and ISO 9001. And you also mentioned an interesting thing. This is a bonus conversation. This is really a spontaneous conversation, right? I can tell to our audience. So interestingly, yesterday I joined an event. So that was about actually Made in America initiative, right? So that's basically pushed by SPA, and so the SPA administration and leadership came to New York area, and they had two different meetings on site on Long Island, New York, for example. One is in Suffolk County, one is in Nassau County by the Hapag Industrial Park, or Long Island Innovation Park with the new name. So definitely, I mean, these Made in USA initiative is real, and that also brings absolutely the compliance requirements, whether that's ISO 9001, also the safety requirements. It'll definitely be more and more important, especially just like you mentioned earlier, European companies or non-American companies will come invest in the US to avoid tariffs and operate in US. Definitely it's going to be more and more important to comply with ISO 9001, OSHA requirements, and others. That's for sure.
Kevin, you raise a good point, because like with those new initiatives coming in, like I see my manufacturer owners, they get all excited. They see dollar signs everywhere, like, oh, new industry here, new industry here. We're going to create all this. We just got an order for 2 million widgets, and they get all excited. And then I have to be the bearer of bad news, is that like ISO compliance is an overhead, right? And then more labor means more safety, more training, more equipment, more that, and that's overhead, right? So I'm always the bearer of bad news when it come in. It's like, yeah, they see dollar signs and then they think like I'm there, like taking it away, and it's not, right? So we try to be innovative because safety and compliance is overhead to a business, right? And it's hard to put a value on an accident that never happened, right? So we're trying to avoid accidents. Okay, so the guy didn't get his leg run over by a forklift. Okay, so what's the cost associated with that? Blah, 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 blah. But we can never say like that didn't happen because he was properly trained, or because you had this program there, or you had a sign. We can never say that. So we can't really quantitate our value. But what we try to do, and again, this is kind of where the conversation started, was get more involved with insurance, right? So more involved with insurance. So yes, maybe even ISO or compliance is overhead, but once you're able to bring in that new business, well, now that overhead made you, more money. Same thing with safety, is like, okay, you're here, and then once you're able to implement it, well, then there's a savings on the top end, because you have this great safety program that now maybe you can go to an insurance broker and say, hey, sell my workers' comp policy. Whereas maybe before they didn't. They were like begging, like New York Insurance Fund, or like just begging to anyone to pick up their workers' comp. And it could be anything. It could be general liability or whatever they have, a pollution liability if they, So those are the things that we're able to look at a higher level, and not just come in somebody with a hard hat and safety glasses and say, do this, do this. We try to be a little bit more sensitive to what are the needs of the business owner, and then make sure that we fill those needs.
Yeah, to your point, it's also, I believe, it's contagious in a way, because you create that safe environment, and employees see it and understand it, and they get more motivated. You are working in a place that actually really cares about you, creates a safer environment for you. And anytime I go to any work environment, manufacturers or distribution organizations, I just go as an outsider, right? So I guess just see what they do, understand, just to link it to my business, for example. Then I can tell this is so obvious. Like, they are happy there, and they like to do their 100%, deliver their 100%, and that's also, I think, it's an opportunity to create that positive environment in the workplace. So that's, I think, another to your point, is another, I think, benefit for businesses. So that's also important. Okay, so let's talk about AI a little bit. So every week when we have a special guest like yourself, we like to ask them about their take about AI, right? Because we have different special guests every week, and then they all have different expertise and insights. So today we focus on safety and safety practices in work environment in place of businesses. So what do you think about AI? So just a little bit of just a warm up conversation. So we see it's here to stay. Individually we use it, as businesses we started to use it in some form. We implemented AI into our business software systems ourselves as well. So it's pretty dynamic when you look at the AI practices. So from safety practices point of view, what is your take about AI, and how AI will shape safety, you think, in the future?
Yeah. So I think, like most people, I fought it for so long. I was like, no way. And then as you start to like get involved and do a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, you're just in awe of how powerful it is. And so I have to sit back and think like, okay, how can I implement that in my programs or my day-to-day stuff of what I'm doing at 2Safe Consulting? And few things that we came up is that we have to analyze a tremendous amount of data. And the technology in the field is getting more and more sophisticated. We have wearable devices for ergonomics, right? So what is the strain on someone's elbow? How do we avoid carpal tunnel syndrome? We have wearable cameras. We have air monitors, we have noise meters that is collecting data like regularly. We like to track trends. So we will not only will we do air data where we get instantaneous air data, but we want to do data log. And we'll data log for a week, and we see that on the weekend, you know, the levels went up, and then like as people came in the morning and went down, and we got to analyze all that data. And literally, you sit on the computer and you scroll through data and data and data. Now, I think about how can we use AI with this tremendous task that we have, and I'm sorry, but it's so easy. We're able to take all of this data and just say, throw it at it and say, here, take it. And then you're like mean. You're like, tell me this, tell me that, and like, what about this? And what does the data say on Tuesday at 10:02? And like it will spit it out, and it gives you all that information. Then obviously you got to verify everything, right? But to take something that I would remember just like Friday afternoon, like trying to have a cup of coffee, just going through data, and now to just throw it at it, and then it's able to spit it out back to me in a couple of seconds. Like, why wouldn't you use that? Why? Like, it's so innovative. It's so helpful. It speeds up the whole process. We're able to get, so if we had to do, let's say, a week's worth of data, hey, guess what? We'll get back to you whether or not it's not safe or not. Where now it's like we have that data, boom, I'll let you know right away. You know, or you can have it feed it to you in real time. You could have your devices and say, hey, listen, if it goes over a certain amount, hey, guess what? You're going to tell me. And we're able to use that and integrate it in multiple different sections of whatever we're using. Like I said, it could be for dosimeters, which is sound meters. It could be wearable ergonomics. It could be air data. It could be so many different industries we're able to use it on. And it's really, really been powerful. Again, it's just like, it's not like, hey, it's a good idea. It's like awe, like you're in awe of how powerful it is.
What is your prediction, or what are your predictions with AI or without AI in terms of safety practices?
Right.
How is going to evolve, you think, moving forward?
So I will tell you that it is not completely correct.
Okay.
I have had to verify a few things. I've been burnt because it did give wrong information.
You're talking about AI, correct?
AI, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so and like I worry a little bit about fully throwing AI out there. You still have to verify everything like that. But my predictions for AI are that they will be integrated literally in every device, everything that you purchase, any type of electronic equipment that you have, from your smartwatches to this, to our 4-gas meters that we use, to our dosimeters. It's just going to be integrated into that. And we're going to have to get used to it, and we're going to have to use it for the power that it has.
How about the regulations? How are they going to shape, you think?
Say that again. What's the question again?
How about the regulations? How they are going to be
shaped in the future? So great. I'm glad you brought this up, because I think it's going to go on to your next question, which is young people in the industry. Is the regulations, well, it really goes with the administration, whoever's elected president, of which direction the regulations are going in. Some presidents want more regulations, some want less regulations. I think we can all agree that we like the Clean Water Act. Like, that's a good idea. I think we all can agree that we like the Clean Air Act. Like, that's a good. So we have these strict regulations. I think locally they're getting more and more strict. PFAS is a new thing that's coming out in our groundwater. These are regulations that we didn't have previously that are coming into the field. So they're getting more and more strict. Not only that, but we have to clean up historical issues. We have to deal with historical, let's say, equipment on site on a safety front. And we just want to make sure that we're always moving in the right direction. So the regulations are getting more and more strict. The field is getting a lot more dirty, and we have a lot more workers. We have them doing a lot more dangerous things. So as somebody that's coming up, like, it's just a growing industry. There's just more and more and more. And even me, somebody that's a 30-year veteran, every week it's something new. Every week it's like, okay, now we're getting into this, and now we're getting into that. So it's a growing industry. which would really tie into, okay, new people coming in. So like a lot of universities don't necessarily have an environmental health and safety program or degree. So a lot of people that we hire sometimes have different degrees, whether it's biology or it could be chemistry. And we're able to take people from those industries and integrate that into safety. So you got a chemistry degree, guess what? Chemical safety is a huge part of what we do. You have a biology major, guess what? We're involved with wastewater and clean water, drinking water. So we're actually taking people from other industries and then putting them into ours and integrating what they learned there. I would really like to see the universities have a larger, stronger environmental health and safety program. Now, locally, Stony Brook has one on Long Island. So we have a lot of people kind of getting pumped out of there, which is good. But I find like the bigger entities kind of suck them up right away, like Brookhaven National Lab and stuff like that. So I would like the universities to have more of a presence. But maybe that's me, showing up at job fairs and saying, hey, we're hiring, and getting the universities to understand.
What is your take about internships and apprenticeship programs for safety practices or safety profession?
Yeah, so I think more so in my area than other areas. Where you are in the textbook and where you are in the real world, there's this huge gap. If you think you're going to go into the real world and take OSHA regulations and you're going to implement every OSHA regulations, you're in for a rude awakening. And that's why in my industry, they call something that's called an industry standard, right? So you really have to be able to, okay, you get the foundation. You got to know the OSHA rules and regulations. You got to know the EPA rules and regulations. You have to know what they stand for, what the spirit of them are. And then you have to be able to implement them in the real world. And that's where an employee can be valuable, is somebody that can do that. Somebody that can just regurgitate OSHA regulations has zero value. So that's great that you get the foundation, but then you need that industry standard. You need that industry experience to then be able to implement it. And let me give you a really good example. Lockout, tagout, right? We know electrical safety. If you're going to work on a machine, a pump that's broken, you have to lock it out, tag it out, right? So we do lockout, tagout training. I don't see lockout, tagout training as training. It's a negotiation. I really have to go with the mechanics and say, listen, this is what OSHA says. OSHA says you got to lock it out. You got to go here. You got to put your tag on it. You got to sign it before you do any work. And he's going to say, BS, no way can I do that work, right? I can't do that work without. So then we talk about it and we kind of try to get through it. Okay, so like, let's make it where 90% of the time it's locked out, tagged out, and you're working on a dead machine. The other 10%, okay, it's live. Now that we're done with that 90%, okay, let's talk about this twice a year. Potentially, this machine is going to be on while you have to work on it because you're troubleshooting, right? And then that's what we're talking about. We're not arguing about this other 90%. So that's where, like, yes, there's rules and regulations that we need to follow, but you got to be able to implement them in the real world. And sometimes it's very difficult. And if you just shut down and are like, no, this is the way you have to do it, you won't get very far.
You have decades of experience. And in your career journey, have you had any role models? Do you have any role models that you can share with our audience?
Yeah, so obviously I never went this route, but I really worked with a lot of good regulators. And so you don't think a government worker is really as a role model. But I remember very early on, I was on a Superfund site and there was an EPA regulator that was working the project. And he was like so excited about the project. He was talking about the sampling and it's cutting edge. And he was so excited. So he, as a young person, he got me excited. And I really liked that guy a lot. I wish I knew where he was. But so he was definitely a role model. And there were other regulators that I worked with that I said were very competent, and I was always able to work with them and have a conversation with them and not like I never walked away. Some of them, a small fraction of them, that I was able to work with and really be like, okay, I get where they're coming from. I'm not upset about this. I get it. I understand it. They were able to explain it to me. And those are some of the people that I kind of look up to, especially when I was early on in my career. But in the safety field, I mean, there were hundreds of other safety people that encouraged me to get my. I'm a certified safety professional. They told me go out, get your certification, take the test. I know it's hard, but go get it. I'm very happy I did. There was also another gentleman that I worked closely with, Leo DeMobis. He came out of Stony Brook, actually, and he was one of my mentors as well. He did a lot of different work. I belong to a professional organization, American Society of Safety Professionals, ASSP. And in that group was a whole bunch of environmental health and safety professionals with no egos, which was very weird. If you come from the construction industry, everyone's like, I know more than you, and there's a ton of egos. You get into the safety field, everyone's sharing information. One of the weirdest thing that I discovered is that people love to teach you or have conversations with you about projects they screwed up. They're like, oh man, I screwed this up and blah, blah, blah. But what happens is you end up learning so much from them talking about their screw ups than like, oh, I was good at this. And that's like, so I really enjoy that. And I kind of take that to heart a lot too. A lot of my public speaking I just talk about the things that I like screwed up. And it really kind of resonates well with people.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Actually, you share these. We learn from our mistakes, and these are actually learning experiences. So that's how we should be all looking
Yes.
at it. That's how it looks like. That's more constructive. And actually, yes, you mentioned the same thing. So that's that is very informative for our audience. That's for sure. That's for sure. Yeah, well, it's hard to believe. Actually, we actually passed 30 minutes. So that's been a great conversation.
I
So
mean, I talk
yeah,
much,
we
Kevin.
could just keep going. I know that's how I sense it. But hey, sounds like we should have part 2. That's how it looks like to me. It's a conversation. Well, so you mentioned that the safety is not that much of teaching subject or department or degree, I must say, in terms of in schools and academia. There should be more. What would you be your recommendation or suggestions, career advice to next generation if they like to pick safety as a profession?
Try not to be pigeonholed, right? So like I see so many people that maybe they work for a pharmaceutical company and they only know they only know that one industry. And then someone in construction, right? New York City construction, they'll work their whole life in New York City construction and they're kind of just like a one lane. Now, are they experts? Absolutely. I would say they're experts in that industry, but you could learn so much more from other industries that you then can bring back to your industry. So it's nice to kind of get a taste. And again, this is my advice to the young individuals out there, especially young in your career. Try to have multiple jobs, try to do multiple industries, because if you work in the construction industry and then you go work for a food manufacturer, you're able to take that knowledge from the construction. And I know you won't think it's valuable, but it is when you go over to the food manufacturer, and then you'll be way more valuable to them with that knowledge base. And then, from there, you're able to take it to someone else. Now, I have the luxury, I'm a consultant, so I'm in many businesses, but I love it. I mean, literally, I'm in so many businesses, just in the Hot Dog Industrial Association. I'm in so many different businesses. It's wild, like how big aerospace is on Long Island. It's wild how we have so many pharmaceutical companies, and it's really interesting. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Well, Christian, thank you so much for being with us in your busy schedule. And you shared your wisdom with us, with our audience. And our mission always in our podcast is to create this educational, this informative environment. And I'm sure we deliver today with your insights and with your wisdom. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you very much. And to our audience and to our listeners, thank you very much for being with us. Appreciate it. We learned so much today, right, about safety and safety practices from Christian. Hopefully we can do part 2 and we can keep this conversation going. And he also made important points, such as keeping an open mind when we are learning in our profession. Also learning from our failures, one of his points that he made. So these are important learning points for us today. And in the beginning, as I mentioned earlier, in the beginning of our podcast, we have more than 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. I'd like to thank you for your support. Please subscribe, like, put the word out, please. So let's grow these ecosystem. Let's grow this business community together. We are very motivated as the American Business Podcast team. I'm supported by young producers. You don't see them, they are in the background. So you mostly see me or listen to me, but we are a team. So your support, your subscriptions, your feedback, these are very motivational for us. And we bring you new and educational content every Friday. So we'll keep it going, we'll keep it rolling. Please continue supporting us. I'd like to thank you for your support. Thank you for your time. Looking forward to having you at our coming episodes next Friday. Thank you very much.